Episode 21 of Uncle Ron and stuff. Wi-Fi. I have a website and I used to do write-ups on these things and I would, show pictures and all that sort of stuff. Nobody reads anymore. So I think I'm permanently switching over to do videos and, we're all used to entertainment, da 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 da. We like real action videos, car crashes and explosions. Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi hasn't been around forever. It appeared and it was pitched as the best thing since sliced bread, and it is cool. Does help, but there's all kind of crap. And if you hear grumbling about anything, it's always Wi-Fi. You know, I can't. They told me, and it's not working like that. I can't get it to work. It doesn't work, and the reason is there's not enough understanding how Wi-Fi works. And I'm just going to give you a thumbnail of the stuff. Hope, hopefully to help you improve your Wi-Fi experience. Improve your Wi-Fi experience. Doesn't that sound like an ad for something? I don't know. I should do commercials, don't you think? Yeah, yeah. Okay, Wi-Fi. First of all, I don't like Wi-Fi, especially uh, because it has such limitations on it. People will they sign up with a cable provider, they get a router, they hook the router up someplace, and then find that the bedroom over on that end of the house I can't I can't get reliable Wi-Fi. Either I get it or it's so slow I can't stream. That breaks up. The TV pixelates. All those kind of things. Okay, Wi-Fi has evolved like everything else. Started off with one particular standard at 54 megabits per second. That was the maximum theoretical rate. In all of Wi-Fi, it works like this. If you see a signal and try to connect to it, seeing a signal is one thing. Pushing a signal back is another. And although your router may have decent antennas on it, most don't. I know I've seen a lot of Verizon wireless routers, and they have one antenna about this big. And when it comes to radio stuff, antenna is really the key. And if you got a teeny little antenna, it's going to be a teeny little signal wherever it can reach. And by and large, it reaches in a circular sort of pattern around that antenna with mainly upward. You know, I ran into a situation where the lady's router was on the main floor and she had a wireless device in the basement below ground. And it was really hard to get a reliable connection to that. The signals don't like to go downward from an antenna. There is, there is a pattern, and it does go in all directions, but it mainly is upward and out, circular pattern. It's not really actually 100% circular either, but nonetheless. Okay, so you put your router someplace, and usually people put it wherever there's the cable modem or whatever else it is. They put the router there without, and they're kind of limited because that's where the cable comes in. That's where the modem comes in, whatever. So that may be in the most inopportune location in your house. You put it in one corner, and then upstairs and the far end of the house, you have no Wi-Fi. Yeah, well, that's Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is really cool. I let you use like laptops. Before Wi-Fi, you had to have a cable, an Ethernet cable that ran from your router to your device. and that works just fine. And I like Ethernet. That's what that is, Ethernet cable. I try to attach everything I can to Ethernet cable, and then I have 100% solid signal at the highest possible speed. But I have laptops, and I'm not going to run a cable across my living room to the router that's in another room. No, I'm going to use Wi-Fi. Okay, and that works well for that. And I've got, again, there's various standards on Wi-Fi signals, and what keeps evolving is faster and faster Wi-Fi speeds. You know, started off at just 56 megabits a second. I don't know what they're up there now. I think they're like 1,000 megabits a second, or maybe even faster. That sounds really, really good, but there's various factors that limit that. You don't ever that's a theoretical maximum. You don't ever achieve that speed, um, mainly based on the antennas and the laptops and cell phones and all those sorts of little devices, even smart TVs. They're very small, and to make a reliable connection to a Wi-Fi signal, you can receive, but you also have to push out a signal. And everybody is limited. FCC limits the power output that any device can use on Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi is it's not like the old over-the-air TV signals. Uh, uh, Internet is everything's broken up into chunks of data, ones and zeros, and they send a chunk. The other end says, "Well, I got it okay." There's ways that they check the thing that's coming in, say, "Yeah, I got it all. It looks fine. Send me the next one." So your laptop sends another chunk of data. If it doesn't check perfectly at the receiving end, that end says, "Oops, you got to send that chunk again." Well, that's where the spotty, slow connection comes in. Uh, there is, in all of the Wi-Fi standards, it tries to make a connection at the highest speed that it can do. If that isn't reliable and that it's got so many, well, I didn't get it, you have to retransmit it again. I didn't get it, have to be retransmitted again. They start lowering the transmit rate to find some level where it's relatively reliable. I'm getting most of the chunks of data without having to request that chunk again. Okay, so that's built into Wi-Fi. Unreliable connections are all based on that. So you set up your router, and you're off in some other room. You see the signal, you try to attach to it, and either you can't make a connection or the connection is so slow it's unacceptable. I mean, you can't stream anything off of it. Okay. So solutions around this. Yeah, it would be perfect in some sense if you could put your router exactly in the middle of your home. That may give you the best uh, availability to the internet everywhere, but may not either. Again, I use a laptop in one room or another room, or I use an iPad or whatever it is, all over the house. Give you an example. On my main, I have 3 floors, and on the main floor is where the router is located. And for my laptop, I'm sitting in the living room, and it's 30, 40 feet from the router, and I can have reliable high speed connection for that, 30, 40 feet away with very few walls. Okay. If I move to like 50 feet away from the router in a bedroom and it's got multiple walls to it, I have trouble making a reliable high speed connection. There's just too much stuff in the way. The higher the frequency of the Wi Fi signal, which is how you get higher speeds on Wi-Fi is you have to go to higher frequency signals, and those are more susceptible to interference by walls and pipes. And had a situation where I had a reliable Wi-Fi signal in my home, and my wife decided she needed a home gym, so she brought in all this big heavy metal equipment, and boom, immediately I'm having trouble. It's so weird that all that metal did not help the Wi-Fi signal at all. It like a giant steel wall got put up. Okay. I have a rather large house, and in certain spots, I can't get reliable Wi-Fi. It's a floor up and 50 feet away, 70 feet away from the Wi-Fi. And this is a problem most people have with their grumblings about Wi-Fi. You know, I'm way over here, but I can't get it. It won't work reliably. Now, my solution to that is they make what's called Wi-Fi extenders. There are some that just work on Wi-Fi. It's kind of like a repeater. It can receive the signal from the original router, like off of your cable modem or something, and it retransmits it, and you can make a connection to that repeater and be fairly reliable. They sell those Wi-Fi extenders. I have tried those in various homes where people had problems. Sometimes they worked okay, sometimes they didn't. It's not 100% reliable mechanism. That's part of the reason I don't like Wi-Fi as the only source of internet connection in your home. Uh, Again, handy for portable devices, but not handy for anything else. I like Ethernet, which is cable. And off of your router, there are various ports on the back that are Ethernet for Ethernet cable, and those are usually set up for gigabit a second transfer rate. Okay, really fast. And most computers, laptops, and other devices that support Ethernet, there's a connector on it, will run at 1 gigabit a second rate if they're connected to the router with a cable. So it's not possible for everybody to do that. I understand that, but for me, I always try to get Ethernet run everywhere, and the way I do it, I have a cable coming from the router, plugged directly into the router. It goes through walls or it runs out on the outside of my house or whatever, and it goes down to a location, central location, like on another floor. And there I put what's called a smart switch. So the Ethernet cable comes from the router, goes down to the smart switch, and then at the smart switch, I have like 5, 6, or even 10 more Ethernet ports. So I can plug directly in a smart TV or a video camera or anything else to also include what's known as a Wi-Fi hotspot device off of that smart switch, off of that Ethernet cable. So a hotspot is set up as another Wi-Fi hotspot. So I have off of my router, wireless router, I have hotspot. Everybody can connect to that. On a lower floor, I have another hotspot that provides Wi-Fi for that area. And on another floor, via Ethernet and a smart switch, I have another Wi-Fi hotspot. So in my house, there are 3 hotspots, if you will, that someone with a wireless device can connect to. Now, when they search the Wi-Fi signals, they'll see the original router hotspot, and I have them all named. You can name them. And so in my case, it's like, okay, middle floor, top floor, bottom floor. If you're on the bottom floor, connect to the bottom floor router Wi-Fi. If you're on the top floor, connect to the top floor Wi-Fi router. Okay, and that gives you really fast, reliable Wi-Fi signal. Uh, in most cases, people don't have the ability to run Ethernet, so they are limited. And that one location router, wherever it is, probably near where cable TV comes in or something, and the cable goes directly to your television set or whatever. That's where the router is fixed. That's where the antennas are sending out that Wi-Fi signal. You can, as I said, get Wi-Fi extenders and use those. Uh, I've had iffy results with that, but it may work for you depending on the physical uh, layout of your home. Certainly, if you have a three-story home and people are trying to make connections on every floor, you need a Wi-Fi extender on each floor. Uh, the other thing is you can try changing the antennas. Antennas are the key to anything that's transmitted over the air. Uh, at your router, you got a little antenna or maybe really teeny antenna. If they sell antennas that can be easily hooked, you can swap off the antenna that's on your cable company or otherwise provided router. Maybe you bought your own router, and that's what I always do uh, because it gives me lots more flexibility. And I have multiple connection modes. My router supports three different standards, with each being a higher data rate. Okay, so you can swap out the antennas that are there and put on bigger, what's called high gain antennas, and they boost the signal in the receive and transmit mode quite a bit. Again, you're going to be limited by the antenna on your remote device, laptops, cell phones. You want to connect your cell phone to the Ethernet, to the Wi-Fi signal in your home, which really makes sense. When you're home, you have a cell phone. Now, when you're out and about, you're going to have cellular data turned on because you want to be able to see internet stuff. You got to do your TikTok and all that kind of stuff like that there. You're going to use data that was, part of your plan for the cellular says you can have so much data. So when you're out and about, you're using that data, okay? Streaming when you're out and about, and you're watching, football game, you're really using up a lot of data. Uh, if you have unlimited data, no biggie. If you have a plan with minimal amount of data, you're going to use it up really quick streaming a football game on your cell phone. When you're home, you can turn off cellular and connect to your Wi-Fi. Now, I don't know if everybody knows that, but you can. You turn off cellular, you make a Wi-Fi connection to whatever Wi-Fi signals you have in your home. Now you can stream on your cell phone through your router at home. And usually the service provided at home has a much larger data usage amount. I think I have like a gigabyte of data download per month. I think that's what it is. Maybe even more of that. On my particular, I have Cox, and the plan I use gives me like a gigabyte of download data a month, and I can pretty much stream every day, all day long, and I don't ever use up that gigabyte. There have been a couple times, I think I was on a lower band, download limit, where I had all the family come in, everybody had devices. It had like 30 Wi-Fi devices going, and people were streaming and doing all kind of stuff on their cell phones via my Wi-Fi connection. And I tripped over the limit, and I got a warning: you tripped over the limit, don't do it again. Okay, but I have like a gigabyte worth of data I can download per month on my main Wi-Fi provider. So I don't know what your plan is. If you just have uh, you have a Verizon hotspot, and they're selling those now. That's what's happening is, where I live, Cox is the only cable provider. Okay, well, other people is no choice. You don't. Okay, well now Verizon is saying, hey, I can give you Wi-Fi. I might not be able to give you cable TV, but I can give you Wi-Fi. I will put a wireless router in your home that will allow you to connect your TVs and all that stuff and laptops. You don't need to have Cox internet anymore. You can use Horizon internet. That's the newest thing. Everything's going wireless. It's not really there yet. I don't know where the tower is around here for Verizon, but it's not real close. I can tell you that. Eventually, internet will probably be totally wireless in that sense. Where I live, all the cables are underground, not easy to fix, change, or otherwise. I have no Horizon fiber optics here. Probably never will have. Okay, so the solution to that is they're going to retrofit, and there'll be antennas sprinkled hither and yon throughout and that will be the source of internet in the future, as opposed to cable. Cable strung anywhere. The future is going to be just forget the cable. Everything will go wireless. And some countries, they're going to skip the cable, the wire it altogether. We're old. Our infrastructure is based on cables. Telephone cables strung all across the country. And part of the reason that there's very limited internet out in various locations is the old copper wire there just won't support high speed or any kind of real internet connection. And that would mean an infrastructure change where all that cable swapped out for other stuff or actual coax cables put in. They're not going to do that. I mean, it would be easier to just set up these antenna systems that, for the next mile or two, like cell phone towers. They'll provide uh, internet connectivity, and you'll connect directly through that, and it'll be wireless to wireless to wireless. That's the future. Okay, it hasn't happened around here yet, but it will. And again, Horizon's saying I can do through them internet, and they'll provide a receiver that is a hotspot for me here. Uh, I'm not going to do that yet. It's not ready for prime time yet here. I would have a crappy signal. I doubt if I'd be able to stream anything reliably off of it, but it's coming. And you may get offers for that. Oh, I can finally get, high speed internet. I just signed up for their Ethernet service. I'm not going to pay for cable TV. I'm not using the telephone through them. I'm going to just use the Wi-Fi. And no, where I live, there's no fiber optic cables run around, so I can't get normal Horizon service or whoever, all those other providers of cable TV. No, it's not available to me. You live out in the country. There's no cable TV way, way out there. Uh, but there will be higher speed internet coming via wireless, not cable. Okay, I think I've talked enough about Wi-Fi. It is a blessing. I love it because my laptop, I don't have to wire it directly, and I've got devices laying all over the place. I've got an iPad in my bedroom. I've got a laptop in the living room. I have a laptop here in the garage. I have a laptop downstairs, blah, blah, blah. We got computers hither and yon. Most are directly connected via Ethernet cable. I don't like Wi-Fi. If you can Ethernet cable, do it. That is real. You, if you have a router in your home, you got Ethernet ports on the back. Any devices that are sitting there that you need to connect to the internet, use an Ethernet cable. Okay, so you have like 5 ports on the back of your router. You have 8 devices sitting there for some reason. Your printer, you can do it wirelessly, or you can connect it directly to Ethernet to the router. You got 8 devices. I only got 5 ports. How do I fix this? You get what's called a smart switch, a little black box. Um, got a couple lights on the front. You connect it to your one of the ports on your uh, router, the main one, and voila, you now have 4, 5, 6, 10 more ports that you can plug devices into. So you can expand the number of Ethernet ports that are available to you just simply by using what's called a smart switch, and they don't cost a ton of money. And as I said before, I use Ethernet wherever I can, and if I get Ethernet into a location via cable, I can always hang a smart switch off of it, and then I can plug in another 8 devices that are right there that I use cable, Ethernet cable, to connect the device to the smart switch, which is connected back to maybe another smart switch, which is connected to the router. There's a whole infrastructure that can be put into your home to get around the Wi-Fi limitations. And most people can't do it, so they have to use Wi-Fi. On Wi-Fi, you can try larger antennas. You can try to reposition wherever your router is to give you the greatest coverage. Just think of it as a giant circle, mainly going upward, not downward. It don't do good if you got it on the main floor and you're down in the lower level. Not going to work very well, and I'm sure you've already discovered this. You may need what's called an extender. I have not had good luck with extenders. You might. Maybe they've improved a lot. But there are Wi-Fi extenders, and it's handy if you have very wide spread out location in your home and you're not getting reliable Wi-Fi back to your main router. Okay, that's enough on that. There's lots and lots more, and like in anything, there's depth. Stuff just gets deeper and deeper the farther you go. Antennas are a relatively easy solution. Helps a little bit. Antennas are said, well, it helped by 3 dB or 6 dB or whatever, and that is a signal strength receive and transmit capability on your router. Works, does help. Unfortunately, you cannot necessarily add an antenna to your cell phone or to your laptop or other devices. You don't have that option. So, although you can see a network on your Wi-Fi, you may not be able to reliably connect to it at the speed that you want to connect to it. The only way around that is extenders, or as I suggest, Ethernet is spread there. Smart switch is put in, and then you put in a hotspot. So 2 devices are available. The extender does not require Ethernet. The uh, the hotspot does. I mean, you can set it up so you don't have to use Ethernet to feed it, but it's not going to work anywhere near as well. Uh, and like hospitals, that's a whole other area where they have to provide Wi-Fi on there's umpteen places on the same floor. That's all different, more complex. But finally, on Wi-Fi, the you will get the best range and the best solid connection if you use the slowest speed possible. Again, my router has supports 3 different standards, each having a speed, internet connection speed, transmit and receive speed. The slowest standard B is probably the most reliable. You can make a connection there, and it will be most reliable. It is the slowest. May or may not work for streaming, but you can always try that. In my case, I have my router. The signals are marked. This is the main floor slow. This is the main floor fast, and this is the main floor fastest. There are 3 different Wi-Fi signals available off of that router, and they're somewhat labeled by the speed by which they can go to. The fastest one is going to have the limit smallest range. I'm repeating myself, but I'm trying to get across certain points. There are things you can do. in a limited fashion. Antennas may work for you, and they are. You can buy them. They're sold everywhere. They, in general, attach right onto your router or whatever's providing the wireless signal, and it will help a lot, especially if you're getting like from Verizon. You're gonna get a device in your home that does wireless Wi-Fi. The signal comes in wireless, and gets put back out to your house. Increasing the antenna size on that may improve that a lot for you. They're not very expensive. That may help. Uh, Other than that, simple solutions are just not there to be had. If you have a very old laptop, it's probably limited to a slow speed. You can buy dongles, which give you access to the other Wi-Fi standards, including the higher speed standards. Your laptop, if it's in range, it may be able to connect at the higher speed, and that will give you a much better experience, especially if you're trying to stream on a laptop. That, like, here I am in the garage, I must be 40 feet away from the main router. I have connected to the main router. I don't even know which one I'm connected to. Whatever one is reliable. I think I'll have to use the slowest speed here in the garage, quite frankly, to make a reliable connection. I can see the other fastest ones, but I can't make a reliable connection to them. It says it won't connect because it just can't make the back and forth handshake required. The little transmitter in my laptop doesn't have big enough antenna, and it's just not doing it. But anyway, you can get a dongle, and they have really little antennas. If you look at a dongle, it's like, the whole thing's this big. You can imagine the antenna in there is like, it's got like a quarter of your fingernail. So you can't expect a whole lot. But you might be able to get faster speeds if you were close enough and there wasn't like 14 refrigerators between you and your Wi-Fi. Anything that's metal is going to mess up your Wi-Fi. If you try to walk in behind your refrigerator and get Wi-Fi and the signal's got to go through your refrigerator, it isn't going to work. I don't know. That should be obvious, I think, but I need to state it. The more walls, the more metal, the more brick, just stuff. It doesn't go through that stuff. It really bad. Microwave ovens can really mess up Wi-Fi signals. Believe it or not, they're sort of on the same frequencies. So if you're, on the other side of a wall that has a microwave in front of it and it's running, you can forget it. You're not going to get a signal. That microwave, even though it's supposed to be all wrapped in metal and not be putting out signals, it does. It leaks a little bit. And it's also a big metal box. And that signals don't trash, Wi-Fi signals are not going to penetrate and get through that big metal box. Uh, Drywall, it's amazing, but no. The more walls you got, the less signal you're going to get. That's enough. This is episode, I don't know, I forget. I always forget. This had to do with Wi-Fi, and as I say, I prefer Ethernet. If you can string an Ethernet from here to there, do it. It is interesting, and I'll make this final point. A lot of houses were wired for old landlines, and they put telephone ports in all these rooms. I got a telephone port in the bedroom, and I got a telephone port in the dining room, and in the garage, and all these places that you could just plug in a telephone. Well, that whole thing just sort of went away. People use, handheld as a base plugged into the telephone line, but all the rest of them like this. Here I'm in the garage. I have a telephone, but it's a, it signal. So I don't need any port out here. Well, most modern wiring, telephone wiring, has exactly the same sort of cable in it as Ethernet. So if you have a port in a room that had a telephone jack, it's possible to, rewire wherever all that stuff's connected, usually in a basement or in a panel or something. It is possible to convert all of those or some of those telephone jacks over to Ethernet ports. I did that here. Um, I don't need a telephone in the kitchen, a port in the kitchen. I don't need a port in one of the bedrooms. Uh, I converted those to Ethernet cabling, and that lets me put a smart switch at that location and attach on all kind of Ethernet devices. That's a possibility. You know, you kind of fix with the infrastructure you got in your home, but keep in mind, and you'd have to look at it, just a little more complex than just plugging something in. But you may be able to use the telephone jacks that are in your home as Ethernet cabling and plug Ethernet devices into that cable when you can get that connection all the way back through something or other, through switches, whatever, to your original router. That's enough of this. These things get longer and longer, and I don't know why. People have tuned out a long time ago, and I know that. But anyway, I'm trying to share information that I know about my personal experiences. Hopefully, you gain something out of it. Maybe just one little teeny aspect, like maybe an antenna on your router, may help a lot, and it's worth a try. It may be able to give you just enough oomph to get that signal where you really do need it. Um, Today is the still on the 3rd of January, 2023, and I don't episode 21, I think, but I'm not sure. But I'll leave it. That's all for now. Bye bye, and remember, practice radical empathy. If you don't know what empathy is, you need to look it up.